Welcome back to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be taking you through the process of sewing this beautiful corset. It's actually an inbuilt corset with an inverted backs design, which is trending, as you can see right here. So it has eyelets at the back and yoke in the front. Okay, so you can see these inverted backs. You can style it the way you want with an inbuilt corset. So in this tutorial, I'm going to teach you the tips and tricks to styling. As you can see right there on the thumbnail, we have different basque styling. Using this inbuilt corset method, I'm going to teach you. You are going to learn the tips and tricks of styling anyhow you want. So if this is what you want to learn, please stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Take you through the process of sewing this beautiful inbuilt corset gown, which is trending. So to begin this tutorial, the first thing we are going to do is to create our pattern. So the pattern I have here, I've already drafted my basic bodice pattern from the shoulder line to the chest to the waist under bust. This is my under bust point. My bust point is somewhere here. I'm going to mark it out. My waistline, and finally the length of this corset. So the length of this corset is at 25 inches. This is the full length for the front pattern. So here is my center front. So I'm going to create the bust point now. So the bust point here from the shoulder is 10.5. So the next thing I want to do is to create my bust span on the bust point. So here is my bust point, and my bust span is 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. So I'm going to move my 3.5 all the way down. So I'll take it all the way to the full length of this gown. So like I said, full length is at 25. So I'll just go ahead and mark from the bust point. I'll create my dart length. So my dart intake on the waistline is 1.5. So I'll just go ahead and create 0.75 here, 0.75. all together we have 1.5 inches. So I'll just go ahead and connect it this way, and I'll take it all the way down. So you can see how I'm taking it. Don't take it directly, just come out a little bit by 0.25 or thereabouts. Can you see that? So the next I'm going to impute is my bust dart. So my bust dart is 2 inches. As you can see, the back length is shorter. This is my back length line. This is the back drafting. It's shorter by 2 inches. So it is that 2 inches that I imputed from the bust line. So I'll just get the midpoint of it. So here is the midpoint of it, 1 inch. I'll come out at 0.75. Connect it this way, finally to the armhole. So what I have here is my bust circumference divided by 4, my waist circumference divided by 4. I connected them all the way. I've not added my 1.5 inch dart intake. I'm going to add them back right here. So my neckline width here is 3 inches, which is the natural neckline, by 3 inches, but I did not bother to impute the 3 inches because I'm going to create a different neckline design right here. So from here to here, I'll get the midpoint because we want to create our over bust dart. So I'll go ahead and connect it that way. So I'll quickly add up my dart intake. This is where I have 1.5. So please extend your line on the waistline and add it up. Very important, because before you forget it. So I'll just go ahead and add it up. So once I've added it up, I'm going to connect it to my bust this way, and I'll take it back to my waist this way. So this you are supposed to do before you go ahead and do what? And create this dart. So I'll just come out. This is the actual line now, no longer this. So I'll just extend this line first. So I will extend this line and remeasure my bust dart from here to here, 2 inches. Please take note. So it's after adding your dart intake, okay? Then come out by 0.75, connect, and finally you connect. I believe you understand the adjustment I made there. So this is how it's going to look like at the end of the day. So make sure you add your dart intake. So now I'm going to come from the shoulder line. I'll come up by 6.5 inches. So that 6.5 inches is going to serve as my yoke line. So at that 6.5 yoke line, I'll go ahead and do this. Then I'm going to create my cleave line. So you are going to take this measurement from the nape of your neck to where you want your neckline to be. So for me, I want it from the nape of my neck. I want it to be at 5 inches. So my natural neckline already is 3 inches, okay? So let me just create it so we don't confuse anyone in this class. So this is our natural neckline of 3 inches. That is from the nape of your neck. Mine is 5 inches. So I'll come here and I'll place the 5 inches. So it depends on how high or how deep you want it to be. So I'm using 5 inches, or let me use 4.5. So it's all by choice as you desire. So I'll go ahead and place my pattern ruler this way, or let me just do 5 inches, which I measured. So it's not too shallow. So unless you are planning to make a shallow, okay, then I'll place it this way and allow it to run into my armhole. So once I've done that, from here I'll come out by 0.75 bust over bust that 0.75 and connect it back here and here. Okay, so what we'll have here is going to serve as our yoke for this particular dress, and this is the bodice of this dress. So now we are done with this project. The next is to cut out what we have right away. So on these other parts, I want to come up by 1.5 inches. Or let me come up by 1 inch. So I'm trying to blend up what I have on the, I'm trying to blend it up so that part is not sharp for us. Can you see that? So I'll quickly go ahead and cut. So I'll cut it very fast, then we'll move over to the back. But I want you to see what I have on the back first before we cut. So what we have on the back, as you may see here, is the shoulder line for the back. So this is my shoulder, and what I have is the chest. This is the back length or waist for the back. So if you look at the waist I have for the front, you can see the difference I told you, which is 2 inches. And that is what we have on the bust dart. So this is the waist for the front and this is the waist for the back. So it will keep getting, you know, shorter by 2 inches. Then the length also, this is the full length for the back. So by the time we close our bust dart, everything matches up for us. I believe you understand that. So for this particular dress, it's actually very simple. We are going to have an eyelet at the back of this dress. So for this eyelet, it's all by choice, the way you want it. So we have different shapes of them, of our eyelets, and That's if you want it V, you can create a V. If you want it straight, you can create a straight. So after that, we are going to contour the under bust line. So to contour the under bust line, this is my center front. I usually divide my under bust circumference by 4. So when I place my tape, my under bust circumference divided by 4 is 8.75 or 8.75. I'll just go to the 8.75 and mark. So whatever I have from that point to the point I have that replacement, I have 1.5. So I'll just go ahead and add 0.25 here and 1.25. I'll add it over there. So that's how I'll contour my under bust line. So there on the under bust line, you see how I place my pattern ruler. So just sit it up this way and connect, flip it this way also and connect. So after that is done, the next thing I'll do is to connect what I have here from this point all the way down to that hem line and all the way down to the hem line. So we are good to go. All right, so make sure, I could have used another marker for this, so but make sure you note the parts that you connected. Okay, so here we are no longer using that line anymore, so I'll just cancel them out. So this goes this way, so this part I'm canceling it out so it does not confuse us. So I connected to this point and took it to this point. I connected to this point and took to this point as well. So now we are done with the front. We'll be cutting it out immediately, then we'll jump over to the back. But before we jump over to the back, I want you to note that the half length for the back is shorter by 2 inches and the full length is also shorter by 2 inches. So that is the dart intake we have. So I'll quickly go ahead and cut out this pattern. This is me cutting out the pattern. So now I have to mark out the neckline, which is 3.5 by 3.5. So neckline is by choice. You can use any neckline depth and width of your choice. So I'm cutting out the darts and the yoke. After cutting out the pattern, you can now go ahead and close up your bust dart. So for the drafting of the back, we have so many designs for the drafting of the back, but I'll actually make this very simple. So the first thing I'll do is to extend my neckline to 3.5. So this is the neckline width of 3.5. So at this 3.5 inches now, I'm going to create how deep I want the neckline to be. So I don't actually like my neckline too big, so I will leave it at 7 inches. So from these 7 inches, I'll come in with a straight line. Let me make dotted line. And here I'm going to create my loop. So from here, I'm going to create 2.5 inches and 2 inch and 1.5 inch on the hem. So I'll come in by 1.5 and 2.5. So that's how I want the shape of my loop to be. So I'll just go ahead and do this. So by the time I open the 2.5, I'll have 5 inches. So I'm going to have my eyelets. I'm going to have them sit right here on the corset. Now I'll connect what I have here to my neckline. So that is how I want my neckline to be. So actually, neckline designs can vary. You can just try to be creative with what you want to make as your neckline. You can just go ahead and make a curve to it. You can also go ahead and do this. Okay, so it's all by choice and all by your design. After connecting this, I just want to come up from this line by 1.5. So once I come up by 1.5, I'll connect it with a straight line to that line. So that's how I want the back to look like. Then I'm going to now use this part of my ruler. So I just want to do a little creativity. I don't actually know how it's going to look like, but I'm just thinking of creating something different at that point instead of going ahead to connect the usual straight line. Okay, so I don't actually know. I'm thinking of creating something different like this. Just make something like this for the back. So it's just a neckline shape at the back. I just feel like, so it's all about creativity, so that this part will be the part of my yoke, but I don't actually know how it's going to look like anyway. So if you don't want, you can just go ahead and make it straight. Then we can have maybe like a cross button this way, just one cross button that will move all the way from there and close up there. And go ahead and make any design of your choice. So I just came up with this little creative design. I just want to see how it's going to look at the end of the day. So I'll place my ruler like this and have my yoke. This is my yoke design. So anything can go on this part. So that is how I want it for that particular design. So let's see how beautiful it's going to turn out. So I can go here, I can go here. It all depends, because I'm actually going to work with I'm working with a lace at this back. So you can work with mesh as you desire. So remember that our waist dart was not imputed. So this is the waist from the center back. I'll measure my waist and find the midpoint of it. My waist divided by 4. This is my midpoint. So my midpoint, I got 4.75. I'll come back here and mark the same 4.75. I'll come on the chest line and mark 4.75. So after that is done, you rule a straight line to it. Then mark out your dart. The dart for the back, I'm using 1/2 inch. That's 1 inch in total. So I'll just go this way with it, and I'll go down this way with it as well. So make sure you replace your dart of 1 inch, which you imputed right now. So I'll replace it. That now I'll go ahead and connect it back. So when you replace your dart, please connect it back. So I'll come down this way. So this is what I have right here. So it depends on where you are cutting off from. So from the center dart, wherever you are cutting off from, if you are using this yoke. Now I've replaced my dart and I've extended the center dart line. So whichever, if you are using this line as your yoke, fine and good. If you are going up like I did, fine and good. So it depends on which one. So just go ahead and extend this line. I just extended the center line to the line of the dart I want to of the neckline I want to use. So don't forget to come up by 1 inch here. If you remember, in the other end of the dress, we came up by 1 inch for the front. So I'll blend my pattern ruler so that part is not too sharp. So after that is done, we are done with this tutorial. So I'll go ahead and cut what I have on the back right now. So now I'm cutting out the back pattern, as you can see. So my back pattern is ready. So it's raw silk fabric and a matching mesh pattern. So this is what I have for the front pattern. So here I have my pattern on fold and I have 2 pieces of it. and this I have 4 pieces of it, which I hasted, including all the back and the front. So I'll quickly go ahead and make notches on the bust point. I'll make my notches. For this, I'll notch the under bust and the bust point. So for this is the back. I'll just simply notch the waistline. I also have 4 pieces of it right here. I'll just notch the waistline. I'll notch the waistline. Okay, so with the notches I'll be able to sew the waistline together. So the next thing we are going to do now is to start joining the pieces. So but before we start joining all of these pieces, I'm going to take off what I have right here, because I want to create my modesty panel. So here is my modesty panel, and I'm going to show you how I got what I have right here. So this modesty panel measures 14 inches. Okay, so this 14 inches is not standard, but is 15 inches. Okay, it depends on the opening you have at the back. So the first thing you will do, you can see I have my modesty panel on fold. I made a crease line at the edge of it. I have it on fold. So now that I have it on fold, this is how I took the measurement of the width. The opening is 5 inches, and the width of what I have here measures 4 inches. So 4 times 2 for the other side will give me 8. 8 plus 5, which is my opening. Okay, that is what gave me 13 inches, and I added 2 inches to it. So that is how to get the width of your modesty panel. Then the length of my modesty panel, I used my pattern length. So you have to keep your pattern here, and on the part we have the loop. Okay, you stop, come down by 0.5 inches. So that is how I got this modesty panel. So that is the modesty panel. So I'll set it aside. So after cutting out the pattern and the modesty panel, I'm making a wadding for this bustier. So I'm going to pad my bustier accordingly. This is what my wadding looks like right now. So I'm going to place it right on top of my bustier. Of course, you know how to go about this. Then I'll use my hairstay and iron it nice. It's time for us to join the pieces together. So I'm done with the bustier right now. And the next thing we want to do is to start sewing our boning channels. So I'm going to use my Regling boning. Regling boning, I'm going to use it to structure the corset. Okay, starting right from the under bust to the full length. So now you can see how I got the length. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'll place it exactly the way it is right here. I'll push it to the side. Remember I told you to come up by half an inch. So I'm going to cut out the shape of what I have right here for my modesty panel. You know we are going to sew it to the dart. So since we are going to sew it to the dart, so simply go ahead and cut out your panel this way. Okay, so that is it. So that is the shape your modesty panel is going to have. So now I'm going to show you how I stitch this Regling boning. So I've already sewn my Regling boning, and this is how I did that. I'm sewing it from the under bust down, as you can see. I'll be dropping the link on how I structure this modesty panel on the description box below using my Regling. So I've stitched the upper layers at 0.5 inch. So the next I will do now is to turn my modesty panel from the part I'm going to sew my lining. So I'll take my time and turn it. Okay, then I'll go over to the ironing table, and I'm going to give it a good press so it relaxes nice and flat. I want to flesh the under bust area to avoid poking. Just place about 2 or 3 pieces of hairstay on top and iron them nicely, as you can see. So after sewing the modesty panel, this is what I have. So you can see it has more structure now, and we can use it exactly on the back. So here is my pattern for the modesty panel, and this is the edge I'm going to sew right now. So what I'm sewing now is the lining. I'm going to sew the modesty panel to the lining area. Alright, so these are the two back patterns. So I'm going to take off the patterns now because we want to sew our modesty panel. So note that we still have 4 pieces for each. So after taking off the patterns, I just want you to take note of what I'm going to do here, because this might seem confusing. So I want this modesty panel to be on the right side, and remember that what we have here is fabric. Okay, this is the fabric part of it, which we are going to join together. In fact, I'm going to join this together without the modesty panel. I'll set it aside and we'll sew our boning on it. Then the modesty panel is going to be sewn on this part. Okay, this is the lining part. So this lining part, I'll pick it up this way. You can see what I'm doing. I'll bring the other one and lay it on top of it. So it's going to be in between the lining like this. So I'm going to arrange it a little bit from 1 inch. I'll step down by 1 inch before I place the other one. So I'm going to sew at a ½ an inch right now. Let me do that. So now I'm done sewing all my pieces together, and what I just did here is to match them, you know, the way it's supposed to be with the modesty panel. So what I have right here, I've sewn my modesty panel and I gave it a good press as well. So this is the lining, and the upper piece I'm taking away now is the fabric. I don't want it to confuse you. Okay, so you can see how it's going to lay at the end of the day. So the lining as it is right now, I'm not sewing any boning to it at all. So I'm going to set it aside and I'll bring back the fabric. I'm going to create my boning on the part that is serving as our fabric right now. So I'm going to turn it this way, and the boning, I'm going to create them only on this part. We are going to sew our boning structure, that is for the eyelets on this part. So I just want to sew an ordinary boning here with my Regling boning. So to do that, I'll go ahead to mark out just like I did last in the front piece. I'll just go ahead and mark 1 inch. That is what I did in the front piece. So I'm going to have only 5 boning channels. Okay, I'll do the same on this other piece as well. So I'll bring in my ruler. I'll rule my boning line where I want my boning line to sit on. So I'm going to sew my boning accordingly. I'm going to follow the shape of what I have and sew my boning accordingly. So I'll actually step down like 2 inches and step up by 1.5 inch. I don't want to just let it get up to this point. So I might step down by 1 inch and sew my boning. So I'll do that now, give it a good press, then we'll back to sew the eyelets. Right now I'm sewing the yoke, which I've done right away, and I'm trimming it off nicely, as you can see right here. So I'm attaching it to the bust here, turning with the lining as well. Give it a good press and notch at it. And coming over to the back, you can see the back too. I have already sewn the back and attaching it to the back corset. So I'm going to place my lining on top, which I've... So I'm done sewing the neckline top stitching, and I stitched the lining and the fabric. Can you see that? I stitched it at 0.5 and gave it a good press. I also did the same for the part that has the modesty panel and gave it a good press. So this is where we are going to have our eyelets. We are going to have our eyelet on this panel. So I'll be using this one to show you how to sew the eyelet. I'll go over to my machine. I'm using my nylon boning. This is my nylon boning. So I'll go over with my zipper foot. I'm going to take the measurement from here. Don't get up to this point, just take it from here and you cut off. Okay, so I'm going to cut what I got off. So I'll go ahead and insert it now and then use my, so let's go and sew so you see how this is done. It's me sewing the eyelets, the nylon boning to the eyelet space, as you can see. So I've inserted it and I'm using my zipper foot. Make sure you place it very close to the nylon boning to have a firm grip, then lock it up as you can see. Then the next thing is to measure out the spacing of 0.5 and run a straight stitch down. Insert your nylon boning once again and place it very firmly to have a firm grip, and make sure you lock as well. So here I'm fitting the dress as you can see. So just go ahead and fit the way you know how. So I'm going to fit the dress right away. So taking all my measurements accordingly and fitting them accordingly as well. So I'm going to place the back to sew right now. So I'm done fitting. I'm sewing the yoke neckline as well. So after sewing, make sure you trim off the... All right, so we want to start off the cutting of the skirt. So to cut out the skirt, I'll simply cut out the front piece and then use it to cut out the back piece. So for the front skirt, I'll place my fabric on fold. So the extension you desire for this skirt piece, that is what you are going to fold your fabric. So here is going to be on fold for me. I'm going to make an extension of everything in total. I'll make it 16 inches. Everything in total on fold, I'm making it at 16 inches. Okay, so it depends on the skirt you are making. For this, it can be a straight, a pencil, and it can be a straight. So I'm making everything at 16 inches. That is how I want my extension to be. So I've finally placed it on fold. I'm going to take the vertical measurements right now for the front dress. Of course, you know how to sew your skirt, so you can see I place it at 17, my tape at 17 on the waistline, then mark out my hip height, my knee height, and my full length. So here I'm going to take the horizontal measurement, all divided by 4. Of course, you know how to sew your skirt. I have a detailed video on how to make every kind of skirt, pencil skirt, you know, mermaid skirt. So just go ahead and sew any kind of skirt of your choice. So here is the front skirt I'm making right now at my desired length, and I'm cutting it out accordingly. So I'll be using what I have now to cut out the lining and the back. So you can see how I placed it for the back right now. It's going to have a tail, and that is 7 inches I gave for the tail. Then extend all the lines, go out by 8 inches and connect all the lines accordingly. So like I said, if you are confused right here, just go and visit any of our videos on how to make mermaid pencil skirt, any kind of skirt of your choice. Follow the video tutorials and simply go ahead and cut out your desired skirt. Okay, so here I'm making a mermaid skirt with train. So that is exactly what I'm cutting out right here. So I have going to cut the lace now, and I want it to have lace edges, so you can see how I placed it right now. So now I'm going to place my lace using my adhesive. So I love to use my adhesives to place my laces, as you can see right here. So it has a lace edge also. So I'm reducing my lining by 1 inch. Please make sure you reduce. After reducing my lining, I'm going to sew it to the interfacing, which I use the raw silk fabric for. So I'm going to sew them together. I'm actually sewing the front piece of this skirt right now. So I'm making notches on the knee line, and I'll turn it around, give it a good press to relax very well. Then for the back, I'm going to sew my zipper, take my measurements, divide by 4, all my round measurements, hip, waist, knee line measurement as we drafted. Okay, so if you don't know how to sew a mermaid skirt, please visit mermaid skirt tutorial on. All right, so I've attached the zipper. So this is how I attach the zipper. I step down by 0.5 before the zipper head. The reason is because for this inbuilt corset, we are still going to fold it in and top stitch, okay, depending on the design we want to give. So since we are giving a design, just step down by half an inch before you sew your zip. So you can see I have my markings already, which I made earlier. So I've taken my measurement. So I'm going to bring in the front dress. This is the front dress of it. I'm going to match the back right side to right side as usual. So I'll go over to my machine now. I'm going to follow the lines I made on the back. I'll sew down and close it up. Then we are going to wear our corset and this skirt to give the design we actually want. So now I've cut out my strip of 1.5 inch width. Alright, so now you can see I've sewn the first layer to the end. So for this other end, I will go in by 0.5 again, and I'll top stitch on top of it till I get to the end. So that's what. Now I'm done with my skirts, as you can see, and I have the zipper, I have everything in place, the tail and all of that. So I'm going to wear the upper piece and wear the lower piece. So we are going to shaping this piece on the body right now. So I'll wear this first, lace my corset back, then to get the fitting of where the styling is going to be. So I will go over and wear it, then style it on my body, then bring it out, make marks on it, and sew. So I'm going to shaping this to the style or design of my choice. So as it is right here, you can go anyway. So if you want to go using the slanted method, you can go this way. Okay. So I can go this way and still have this the way it is. Then if I want it to go the other way, I can also do that. But I need someone to help me do this. So this is what I get now. So I can continue and give it any shape of my choice. So I just find someone to help me, design it the way I want. But at least you understand what I did right here. After that, let's assume this is the shape I just want for my corsets. I'll go ahead and mark with my chalk. So this chalk will serve as the guide. Once I take off the dress right now, once I take it off, I'll follow the chalk line and I'm going to sew accordingly. So I'll just stop at this point because I'm not done cutting. So I'll find someone now to help me cut it to the shape I desire, even to the back as well. Okay, so to the back I'll also give it the shape I desire. Then we'll go over to the machine now. I'm going to pick it up, fold in 0.5 and top stitch right on top of it, and it gives us the gown. Alright, so this is the shape I marked on my body. Okay, so I just want to show you, in case you don't have anybody to assist you to cut it out, or maybe your client is far away. This is another method you can use to achieve this basque design. So if you look at what I have here, that is the seam line. Just go ahead and locate the seam line. Of course, what you need to do is to measure what you have on your underbust. So my underbust is 14 and my waist is 17. So you can see my mark is exactly at my underbust, so at my waistline. So if this is my waistline, so it goes along straight as my waistline. So I'll just come in with the seam line, place it right there on the seam line of the corset. So you can see what I have right here. So if I place it, then I can secure it with my pin and give it any shape of my choice. So here I'll just cut out the shape. So make sure it aligns on the seam line, very important. And again, it also spreads this way. So I want to give the shape I want for my back right now. So for the back, I want it to, this part I've already cut it out. As you can see, that's a part we cut on the body. So for this part, I'll just go in this way. As you can see, I'll just go in like this, like that. Then I'll take it straight again. I believe you understand. So once I've done that, this is it. So I'll just go ahead and do what? And mark it out as well, making sure that my seam line is still where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to mark it out now. So this is in case you don't have anybody to assist you. So just do what I'm doing right here. Place it like this and mark it out. Can you see? So once I've marked it out, this is the shape I have for this my dress. That is for that side. Then I'll come over to this other side. So this is where we stopped on the body. I've not actually cut it out, so I'll still go ahead and place this seam line on this side to seam line on the half length. So this is the half length, as you can see. So I'll go ahead and also give it another shape of my choice. So on this part, I'll just give it the shape like this. So here I can cut this way. So make sure it's straight before you cut, so you'll be able to get it at exactly the same point. Can you see? So this is it. So I'll also use my chalk. So this chalk line is very, very important because it will help us when sewing this. So I'll just take it up to that point. So you can see we've gotten the shape we want for our corset. So I'll follow these chalk lines now to sew everything, matching seam line to seam line. So this is another method in case there's no one to help you. So I'll go over to my machine now. You can see that the lace has separated itself from the doll face. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my bias to sew it, finish it up before I sew it on the dress. Let me do that. So this is my bias. I've used it to take the shape I made. Okay, so right now this is what the shape looks like. Can you see? So you can also decide to wear the skirts. After wearing the corset, you wear the skirt and close and zip up. It's all your choice. You can also decide to attach it. Okay, so for the purpose of this tutorial, we are going to make it a full gown. So to make it a full gown, that means we are going to stitch right on top of it. Remember the seam lines, match it up exactly and stitch. Okay, so once I get here, I'll just stop. Remember that we snatched our waist. Okay, so since our waist was snatched, so it will stop right here for the lacing bar. Then I'll continue to stitch right on top. Then at the end of the day, we can decide to embellish, maybe place our trimmings to create more details. You can also decide to leave it the way it is. So I'll just go over to my machine now, and I'm going to top stitch right on top of it, following the shape. So let me do that. This is me sewing the skirt part on the chalk line on top of the corset like that, following the shape of your choice. So I later sew my bra cup to this dress, but make sure you sew it below the lining. So thank you very much for coming to this tutorial. See you in the next class.